Welcome back to a video on Code Tech and Tutorials. Today we are continuing the old CPP for School series. And basically this is just going through a bunch of C++ questions and solutions and implementing the solutions that comes from this website. We've done a bunch of them in the past. We're up to flow of control, still in set 1, and we're up to problem 9. So last episode we ended at question 8. And to do this, I am using Cygwin as our terminal. That way I can use a GCC compiler. Use whatever you want. It should be about all the same. Just in case, just for reference, I'll show Cygwin. It's easy to find. Just Google it, you'll find it. And also I'm using Visual Studio Code to do the coding. So I'm kind of trying to take each of these sets per file. So I just have a main where I've done question 1, 2, 3, etc. and I comment them out after I'm done, all the way up to problem 9. And I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to show you problem 10, and we'll see how much time we have left. So welcome aboard. And as you can see, let me just, I guess I'll get this out of the way here. Let's look at question 9. So it says, write a program to calculate the monthly telephone bills as per the following rule. Minimum Rs 200 for up to 100 calls, plus Rs 60 cents per call for the next 50 calls, plus Rs 50 cents per call for the next 50 calls, plus Rs 40% call for any call beyond 200 calls. I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what Rs mean. I have no clue. I'm guessing it's just a variable and they just decided to call it Rs. I don't know. Beats me. Anyway, let's code up the solution. So we basically just want to calculate a telephone bill, and then we just need to follow this logic. For clarity's sake, this is just a main. I've just got everything commented out. There's nothing else going on until what we start typing here. Right at question 9. Write a program to calculate the monthly bills as per the following. So it looks like they're just getting billed per call, not a minute, not per minute. Minimum Rs 200 for up to 100 calls. What the heck does that mean? What? Am I supposed to know? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what that means even? Minimum Rs 200 for up to 100 calls. What? I literally have to look at this solution because I have no clue what they mean by Rs. All right, sorry. I don't like looking at these solutions, but you gotta ask for clarification if you need it. If calls is less than or equal to 100, their bill's 200. Sounds like an absolute ripoff. Else if calls is greater than 100, less than 150, I still don't know what Rs is, but we'll go with a guess. Cost? Is it cost? What a nightmare. Jeez. All right. Sometimes I read these questions and think, am I dumb? And, maybe it's just something no one's ever explained to me or something, but how is anyone supposed to know what RS means? Minimum Rs. Is that cost? Price? Bill? Give me something to go on here. Minimum. 200 for up to 100 calls. Minimum Rs. 200 for up to 100 calls. Just trying to think of a way to word this that actually makes sense, but I'm not sure I understand it. Well, I think what they mean is if you have less than 100 calls, your bill's 200. Okay. How would I ever get that out of the way they worded this? Okay. Well, first of all, let me just say this is obviously a very easy problem and a very easy thing to code up. It's just some basic how many, here's the rate. The problem here is someone doesn't know how to type in plain English. That's the problem here. So that's the real problem. The problem isn't even, this isn't even a programming question. This is a, can you figure out someone's absolutely butchered English? Apparently. I don't know, just guessing. All right. So let's declare a float called ours, and we'll just assign it 0. All right. And we'll design an integer, or make an integer called calls. All right. And we'll start it at 0. We're gonna ask the user how many calls. All right. And then we're going to ask for that input. Standard CN calls. All right, so that's easy. And then based on how many calls, we want to do some calculations. If calls is greater than or equal to 100, RS what? Equals 200? That's how they have it in their solution. But I'm really having such a hard time understanding the concept of what the heck they mean by R's. Use a real variable name. Minimum R. I'm looking at the solution. I give up. I honestly give up. Because I just don't understand what they're trying to say. It's not even comprehensible. Just make it freaking simple. Like, you know? Do they just mean bill? So let's just pretend this RS says bill. Minimum bill 200 for up to 100 calls. That's $1 per call. What an absolute ripoff. Jeez. If I'm understanding this right, that's $1 per call, right? Or $2 per call. Or even more. All right. Jeez. I just can't stand the way this is written, the way this is worded. I know I've been saying that for minutes, but it's literally blowing my mind that it's so badly written. All right, fine. So your monthly bill is $200, even if you made 0 calls. Okay? Don't pay this company. Cancel your service. Whatever. And no one's gonna ever work with this company. They're so bad. Let's just be fair about that. Let's ignore that. Let's just program it. All right. So if the calls is less than 100, we just set the no. What? No matter what, you're getting billed $200. We start this at 200. We don't need to check. You sign up for the service, you get billed $200. All right, that's it. Because worst service ever. That's why. All right, so if the calls is greater than, okay, so next 50 calls. So I'll call 101 to call 150 are 60 cents per call. All right. So if calls is greater than or equal to 150, we're going to say RS, we're going to add some to it. And the amount we're going to add here, the plus equals just adds to RS here and sets it equal to whatever we are adding to it. I'm going to put it all in parentheses here, whatever we're adding to it. So it would basically be 150 minus the number of calls. So we know that there is, let's see, I got to fix this a little bit. Calls greater than 100 and less than 150, less than or equal to 150. Let's just make sure we got this right. Okay, so if there's more than 100 calls, but less than 150 calls, then we're going to add to this $200 bill that you start out with, which I put in the wrong place. And the amount we're going to add to it is, let's see, we got to think about this here. Um, 60 cents per call over 100 over that. Okay, so we just need to take calls minus the 100 that we've already got, because that's up to the $200 bill, and whatever's left is 60 cents each, right? So it says 60 cents. Okay, so the first 100 are already accounted for. So that's why, you know, that's the first $200 bill. And then all the way up to 150 is 60 cents. But then we also want to calculate the next 50. So we can do this with an else if, and it'll essentially be about the same thing here. There's a lot of ways I'm thinking you could do this, but we'll just do a set of 3 cases. I think that'll be easiest. I'll just build these cases real quick. Yeah, it'll just look like this. All right. So if you're in between 100 and 150, you just get this 60 cents added per call up to 150. If you're over 150 and all the way to 200, then you're going to get another 50 cents added for each of these calls. So this original one still applies, and this new one yeah, let's see, we just have to make a more complicated calculation basically. So we still got to charge for the first 50 calls, which is, or the first 50 calls over 100, which is basically just going to be 50 times 0.6, right? So we got to add the 101 call to 150, and then we also have to add whatever is left going up to 200, because maybe they didn't get quite 200. Well, they probably didn't. So it's calls minus, what am I looking for, 150 here. So however many calls they have in this 150 range to 200, we got to times that by 0.5. All right, very good. And I'll just profusely use parentheses. Sometimes it helps you understand what's getting calculated first and second, etc., because the innermost is what gets done first. So this would do this calculation, and then this calculation, and then this calculation, and then it would add them together. So that should give a correct result. And just make sure we got the number of parentheses correct. I think we got one too many, so we'll get rid of that one. Okay, and for this last one, this is the calls over 200. So first of all, we do have to charge them for, yeah, the first 50 over 100 times 0.6. Then also we're going to charge them for the next 50 times 0.5. That's all the way up to 200. And now they are over 200. We do know that for sure. So we just need to add the last amount in, and that amount is going to be very similar to what we've been doing, except it's going to be minus 200 because we've already calculated in those 200 calls. And that is a times 0.4. There we go. So that should give us this solution. Now I'm just want to walk through it one last time, and we'll spit it out here. Cost of calls, cost of however many calls equals, and we'll just spit out the number. RS. Let's put a little new line at the end of this so it's a little more readable. So there we go. Now we can tell it how many calls we made, and it'll just give you the price. Now these if-else's for flow control, it's only going to hit one of these cases. We could design this in a way where it flows through and does the calculation one at a time, But in this case, we had to keep replugging in this calculation because it's only going to hit one of these cases. So they make over 200 calls, it's only going to do this calculation. They are between 150 and 200, it's only going to do this calculation. They're between 100 and 150, it's only going to do this one. And if they're less than 100, it's not going to execute any of these, and they're just going to get charged that flat amount of 200. Still don't know what RS is, but maybe it doesn't matter. So let's go ahead and run this. Just make sure it runs, make sure it looks like it gives us some sort of legit number. And I'm going to run it with my makefile. Actually, for clarity's sake, I'll no, I'm just running with makefile, whatever. There we go. So I'm just using G++ make, and looks like we got a little bit of an error. I need to put this calls in here again, because it's got to be comparing it to something after that and. There we go. Let's go ahead and run that again. We got another error. Looks like we need a semicolon somewhere. Where is that at? That's line 158. That's right here. Oh, we need, this is an else if. Else if calls over 200. So there we go. Looks like we still got another error, one too many parentheses. All right, fine. So we'll get rid of that parentheses. And we'll make one more time. How many calls? Let's say one call, we got to bill 200. Sounds good. 50 calls, still got to bill 200. How many calls? Let's do 140. 224 bucks. All right. Let's do 180. 245. Let's do 252 or 54. And there's the new bill. Okay, so that seems right. I'm pretty sure that's right. There we go. There's the answer to question 9. I know it took forever to get started because I was just trying to figure out what they were saying. And we'll go on to the next one. So there it is. I'm going to comment all that out. Not needed anymore. And this next one, I think I started doing this and recorded it and then lost the recording, so it's not here. And also, I don't remember this formula. Okay, it basically says write a program to find the roots of a quadratic equation of the type ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. So I had to go look up this equation and figure it out. I think I just pasted in the solution ultimately. Yeah, I did. Okay. So basically, if you look up this formula, you'll see that you get some different situations depending on what your answer is to begin with when you plug it all in. So you got to do this thing first. You know, I really don't want to explain this. It's basically just running through a formula, and if you look up the formula for this, the first thing you do is you find the what is it? Find the squares or something, and it depends what your first answer is on that, what you do next. So they just have a little if else depending on what D calculates to, and then they just plug in the different formulas for the different initial results. So and the way you find that is you say, let's see, what is it called? Find the square roots. Find the roots. Yeah, finding the roots. So if you just go to Google and go to finding roots of a quadratic equation. Yeah, it's there's a video of it. We're not gonna look at the video, but basically they're just running through these formulas, following the pattern with an if else afterwards. And this is the quadratic formula. So I'll let you look at it there. I don't want to try to unpack math. This is really just about controlling the flow of what that D equals, and then doing the rest as required by the quadratic formula. Hope I'm saying that all right. And we're going to move on from that, but well, I guess I could give it a run. So enter value of a, b, and c. I don't know, 5, 4, and 3. And there we go. Roots are imaginary. Root 1 is that. Root 2 is that. Very good. If we run it again, we can give it some different stuff. We can give it all 1s and see what happens. There we go. All right. So next one, we're going to go ahead and comment out number 10. Let's hope this next one doesn't involve complicated math and looking up a formula, because I don't want to do that live. The marks obtained by a student in 5 different subjects are input by the user. The student gets a division as per the following rules. Percentage above 60, first division. Okay. Percentage of 50 to 59, second division. Percentage 40 to 49, third division. Percentage less than 40, fail. Write a program to calculate the division obtained by the student. And this is yet another really awkward use of words. So I don't know who wrote this, but they're in another planet. What do you mean by first division? Are we dividing by something? Are they putting them in different categories? I don't know what the frick they're talking about. So I don't know how anybody would know what that means without having to like clarify and ask questions. So I have to look at the solution here, because I literally don't know what they mean by first division, other than maybe they want them in that category. Is that what they mean? The marks obtained by a student in 5 different subjects are input by the user. The user gets a division as per the following rules. Write a program to calculate the division. I literally don't know what this means. I could read this a million times. I just don't understand why you're calling it first divide by what? What are you dividing by? I don't get it. I literally can't get this. It makes no sense to me at all. So I'm, this question makes me feel stupid because it's so stupid. All right, so yeah, we're going to take 5 different subject scores. I'm guessing they're percentage scores from 0 to 100. That's a guess. Well, it does say percentage, but then it also says marks. What do they mean by marks? Percentage marks? It's just this website sucks. Don't go to this website. Honestly, don't try to learn off this website. Clearly, they're really, really epic bad at being clear. So I guess that's why I'm here, to rail on them and just try to make sense of their garbage. We literally have to go look at the logic they use to implement it to figure out even what the heck their question means. The question is harder than the solution in this. Jeez. Just take down your website until it's better, What are you doing? Okay, so they enter the marks. And then they make a percentage off of all those 5 marks. Okay. So it's just like 5 different grades, and you average them all together. That's all they mean. Take 5 different percentages and average them all together. How the heck are we supposed to get that out of here? Really, come on. And look how they write first. IST, II, end, II-erd for, and C out fail. This is not an else fail. You just write fail on this whole thing. My God, what? Okay, I gotta stop bashing on this. Whoever wrote this for a second, because it's making me mad. So this is obviously a really easy thing to write, first of all, and they didn't do a very good job of writing it and flow of controlling it. So I'm gonna do better. So yeah, you just take 5 percentage scores and get the average, and then put them in different categories. Or apparently, I don't know what world they live in, but for some reason, you don't fail till you're less than 40%. I've never seen school do that. Usually, it's under 59% that you fail. But epic bad website is epic bad. So here we go. So we're just gonna say standard cout, enter 5 percentage scores. All right, got that? Percentage scores. And since they're percentages, we're going to take in floats we'll just do S1 for score 1, score 2. Notice I'm not using RS or whatever the F that they would use. All right, those are all going to automatically initialize to 0. If you want to make sure they do, you can do something like this. And since we're declaring them all on the same line, we just have to make sure we do this after the parentheses. Okay, so they all start at 0. Enter 5 percentage scores. And we'll just clarify here that it is 0 to 100. That way, we'll even say just enter 5 scores, 0 to 100. So we got to do a standard CN of S1, then S2, then S3, then S4, then S5. So that's gonna, okay, I'm doing this wrong. I don't know why I have commas there. I actually need to do it this way. So this is just going to prompt for all of these scores in a row, separated by space. Hopefully the user doesn't put in bad input. We're not going to be checking for bad input. If you accidentally put in bad input, just crash your program with Control-Z and start again. And we also need to make sure they don't get a score over 100. Probably, I would think. This doesn't really say. The way this is worded, you could give someone a score of 55 million and it'd be fine because they just don't care, you know. But I'm gonna assume. Okay, this is about flow of control, so let's do some flow of control. It gets really complicated really fast, so normally you design some functions to check things, that way you don't have to type it up all in one line. But I guess we're gonna do that. So we're gonna say if S, yeah, we'll just make this long. Screw it. I'll make it actually half decent. So if S, should I make it half decent? Do I want to error check? Do I want to? So if you want to check for errors, like you want to check they put in a legit number and they're not messing something else up, you basically need to check each of these before continuing. And if they mess one up, you either need to clear it out and reprompt or something along those lines. That'd be some real flow of control. This is just easy mode, badly worded flow of control. I don't know. Okay, we'll do it their bad way. I don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be. But if you're doing this for real, it needs to be longer. You've got to check this stuff. You can't risk taking in completely improper input and then just continuing. You just can't. That's not a good idea in software ever. So just so you know. All right, but we're gonna not worry about that too much. So we're going to get these 5 scores, and the only thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new variable called, well, we'll make it a float called average, because that's what this is. It's an average. I don't know what the frick they're calling it here. Division, first division, second division. I don't know. I don't know what they're calling it. Gets a division as per the fall. Please use proper wording so people can actually even understand the question. How hard can it be? Run it by anyone. There's so many people in the world. You could just say, hey Bob, I'll give you $10 to read through this and correct all my terrible grammar, and someone would do it. But no, they don't do that. So whatever, we're going with it. So we just need to add all these together and then divide by the amount of them, which is 5, and that's it. This is a really little ghetto algorithm. So we got them all. We divide by 5 because there are 5, and that's the result. We want to divide by 5.f because we want to divide by float, since these are all floats, and then we'll have the average. And then we can just say to them, this is all for spitting out the result really. If average is greater than 60.f, who knows? Do we say first division? Look, someone's not going to know what that means. They're going to be, they're just going to say, oh, you got first division. What does that mean? I got divided by 1? What does that mean? So really this should say something like, congrats, you passed the class. All right, that's probably what it should say, because you didn't get an F. All right. Oh wait, never mind. Their F is at 40, so really, at the top. So even if you get a 60%, you're at the top of the class according to this one, first division. Maybe that's how this guy had everything weighted, because he couldn't do anything logical ever. You know, I really didn't expect this to turn into a thing about railing someone's English and stuff, but it is what it is. I'm going to call it like I see it. and maybe I'm wrong, whatever. I don't think I am, but I could be. So if your average is greater than 60, okay, so if it's not greater than 60, it's going to go down to this next if else and check here, and we'll say, so if it's greater than 50.f, so that means it's less than 60, but it's greater than 50. We're flow of controlling here, and we'll say here, congrats, you passed the class, or whatever it is, just below the top. I don't know, something like that. Sure, they're second place, basically. Else if their average is greater than, it looks like 40% here, they still passed, but now they're in third division. We're just going to copy that whole line, double click, hit Control C, Control V down here, and can I line this up? There we go. You pass the class just barely. Is that barley or barely? I don't know. Whatever, I'm leaving it. And then last but not least, okay, let me just be clear here. If it's over 60, congrats, you passed the class at the top. So if it skips past this because it's less than 60, it's going to go to this next one and see, is it over 50? If it's over 50, that means it's somewhere between 50, but it's definitely less than 60 because, you know, it skipped over that one. And they're just below it. And then if it skips over this 51 too, we know they've got a less than a 50. So we're checking, okay, is it above 40? So if it is above 40, we say this. Then if it still skips over this one, skips over this case because it is less than 40, we know that they failed. We don't even need to check any further. There's no further checks. We just do this, whatever. Congrats, you, no, we'll just put fail here. Fail here, yep. Take it again. Enjoy wasting your time and money on school. There we go. No bashing there. Hold on a second. What?
Where's like a rubber laptop that can handle YouTube?
It's not here.
You don't have any more
It's
laptops.
not, yeah, it's not here. All right, and that's it for that question. Let's just run it and make sure it works. Make. What do we got? We got an operator wrong somewhere. Oh, this CN is backwards. So actually, I'm going to just highlight them, hit Control H, which allows me to do a replace. And I'm going to flip the direction, and I'm just going to replace one at a time until it gets them all replaced. Very good. Alrighty, so we're looking pretty good there. Let's go ahead and make this again. And there we go. It is running. It's going to ask us for 5 scores from 0 to 100. Of course, it doesn't do checking because, you know, if they're not even going to check their wording, why would they check anything else? Whoever wrote this, never, ever, ever hire the guy that wrote this. They will just ruin your company because you'll like accidentally pay out people millions of dollars from their terrible math and not checking input. But you know, we'll go with it. These are the percents, and they are allowed, thanks to Mick not understanding anything logic guy. So, like I said, in reality, it's really important to check that these are bounded properly. These tutorials probably aren't going to tell you that because obviously this guy doesn't care anything about bounds, word bounds, logic bounds, anything. They're just copy and pasting for views, and apparently it's working because here I am. I just Googled and got a link to CPP Labs, and this is what came up. It was like the first link. It's not going to be hard to make better ones than this. If anyone else wants to take over that top spot in Google, you can. You can take these same questions, correct all their English and logic, and it would work fine. And you would win. So anyway, let's run this with a more legit case. Let's say maybe you got a 50 on your first test, a 40 on the second one, and then a 70, and then I don't know, we'll say a 19, and then last but not least, you bring it home with a 70. So we'd get a congrats, you passed the class just barely. So there's somewhere in this 40 to 50 range. Alright, well that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me rail on this guy's writing. And hope to see you in the next episode. Don't forget to give this a like, subscribe if you want to see more videos. I'm going to keep pounding these out as much as I can. Hope it helps somebody out there that is learning. That's what these are for. They're for new people trying to learn C++ and understand how to go through it. Peace out.